Alright, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to do a little bit of wet sanding on this with some 600. So I'm going to wet down. Paper towel is wet. Wet my paper a little bit. And I'm going to go right along here with some 600. Just to smooth her out a little bit. And then we got to put another coat of pigment on. And do her all over again. This is 2 hours later, by the way, to get this out, to get it to look like that. And by feeling it, she's pretty darn smooth. So I'll put another coat of pigment on her. Excuse me. Put another coat of pigment on her. Now I'm using a round dowel rod. Actually, it's a, there you go. It's about a quarter size violin sound post. Because I only want to hit certain spots. So I want a real narrow break. Okay, so now you can, excuse me. Okay, so now you can see this line right here. That is new pigment put down. And then you can see the sand line where I wet sanded. Now the wet sanding is not through the original finish, and after I get done putting another layer of cryosilicate on it and scrape it down and sand it down, when I buff, that will take away almost all where I wet sanded. That's a 600 grit sanding right there. So I'm going to get set up to apply the cryosilicate using a spatula, and I'll show you how I do it.
Put it on with a spatula, huh?
So how I do this is I have my little tray here, and you can see that, and then I have my spatula, and I always put, I need to back this off some, folks, sorry about that. I always put a piece of tape on my spatula, because when you sit down these clear pieces of plastic, they disappear on you.
Well, that's the tip of the day.
And then you scoop some up, and this is an odd angle, but I'm going to layer down right along that crack, and then I'm going to smooth her out before she starts to harden. And when it's, this is kind of an odd angle I'm working at, so it's not coming out the way I want to, but it is working the way it needs to work. And there.
Yeah.
Okay. Get some fresh
Yeah,
glue up.
color came out a little bit lighter, but I think it's an angle thing, because from this direction you don't see it. From this direction you see it. That's one thing about a pigmented repair is at different angles it'll flash at a different color.
Now then, if you see here, there's a little dab of Tite Bond, and then teeny tiny little slivers down in them screw holes. Those screw holes, let me get this piece out of here. Those screw holes were kind of oversized. So it's basically the old adage, if you got a loose door, the hinge is loose, put a couple of wooden matchsticks in there. We put a couple little pieces of pine in there, put the glue in, then snap them down, wipe the excess off. So you can see that. Okay, this is not finished product, but this is real close to being finished. Right there. There you go. That has been scraped, sanded, and rubbing compounded. And there you go. This was part of the worst part of the break right here. There you go. This is part of the worst break, and you can see the pigment, it's like the pigment doesn't want to stick. It was just so deep that it keeps reflecting from different angles where the pigment didn't set up on. But here we got the pigment pretty good all the way around. I gotta lean over here with my head, and you can see. So that's at finished sand, and you can just barely feel the bump there. It's almost impossible to make the bump disappear, and to make the bump disappear, you're gonna have to pay me a whole lot of money. Like, just for this crack, to make it completely disappear, $150, $200 just for that crack right there, because that takes a lot of time. So we got that drying. I'll clip those ends off and then wipe the excess off. And here is, there's the front. There's the front. 26, 28 hours so far. Still got more to do. I've got to cut a bone nut for that. We do not have a pre-manufactured nut to fit, so I got to cut one. We'll be back.